am so excited to introduce my guests to you today. They are Josh and Ashlee Latimer. They're high school sweethearts, first generation entrepreneurs, started their journey in a trailer park. They have lived in 2 different countries, speak broken Spanish, and are currently raising 5 children. Their number one passion is helping your entrepreneurial family build wealth, become radically generous, and engineer a family culture that changes the world. Some of their business accolades during their 19 years of marriage include building and selling 3 companies and launching a podcast with over 1 million downloads. Currently, they're absentee owners of $1 million SaaS software company and a multi-million-dollar coaching and education business, in addition to owning equity in 7 other successful ventures ranging from local home services, software, and marketing. Here's the thing about that, guys. I was just going to introduce you as 2 of my favorite humans on the planet, but that sounded way better. So welcome. How are you guys doing?
Well, as Dave Ramsey would say, for me, better than I deserve. That's my answer for how I'm doing. I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. How are you?
And I would say that bio did sound nice and it's all true, but being your favorite humans that's like how I like you to introduce us too, because you're one of our favorite humans.
We'll change our bio to just Monica's friend.
Perfect.
Right?
Love it.
That'll cover everything.
Cover it all.
No, we're really thankful. We're excited. Thank you for letting us hang out with you.
Well, I'm so excited. I know you guys pretty well, but why don't you start by telling our audience a little bit more about you and your family and all the goodness that you guys have?
Sure. Do you want to go or do you want me to do that?
I want you to start.
Okay. So I played quarterback in my high school on my high school football team, and we were terrible. We lost our homecoming 69-0. And Ashlee was a cheerleader on the same football team, and she was really positive, like, you good job, guys, even though we were terrible. We were the worst football team ever. And it's probably mostly my fault since I was a quarterback. But anyway, that's where we met. That's our origin story. We dated in high school. We got married young at 20 years old. So I think that was normal to get married then, like, 100 years ago. But now everybody wants to wait till they're like 37 to get married for some reason. So we got married young. I was a pizza delivery driver, lived in a trailer park. There's no entrepreneurs in really either of our families, very blue collar. But started learning about business really even in high school for me. And I got the bug and we went for it. We had lots of pain and suffering, lots of overdrafted checking accounts, lots of late bills, lots of bad credit, then good credit, ups and downs, everything in between. And we've had some success in business, but really our core passion now is helping people with businesses that also have kids crush it in business without burning their family to the ground, right? Like, how can you walk and chew gum at the same time? Like Russell says, no amount of success in business can compensate for failure in the home, right?
Absolutely. Can you guys see why these guys are my favorite humans? As soon as Ashlee starts talking, we're going to get it's going to get a little crazy. It's going to get a little weird. Josh's going to have to bring it down probably.
Probably. It's just really funny that he said that, like, that I clapped and cheer for him when he was on a really bad football team, because I think I'm secretly trying to write a book called The Secret Art of Clapping and Cheering. And really what we want to do is help families win. That's basically what we want to do, is help families win, because we had to do a lot of clapping and cheering when our businesses were broke, when our marriage was broke. And so we've had a lot of clapping and cheering, and it's
sometimes you can cry while you clap, right?
Oh,
does that work?
We're doing it.
Wait. What was that?
We're doing it.
We're successful. I believe I can. Like Thomas the Train. No, man, it's so cool though for if you do have kids and you're growing a business, it's so awesome for your kids to watch their mom and dad take an intelligent risk, or as I always say, jump off a cliff and build the plane on the way down. You're like figuring it out. It's awesome, right? Because it gives them the boldness to try stuff. School teaches us that failure is bad. Like, you're going to get slapped on the hand with a yardstick, right? Because you failed. It's like, no, but failure is good because it's lessons, right? You can't achieve big things without falling on your face and scraping your knees. It's no big deal. When our kids are learning to walk and they trip and fall, we don't like shame them and say, you failure, you loser. What a loser. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you walking right? It's like, way to go. You tried, you did it. And business can feel like that too. And no matter what level you're at, whether you're doing $1 million a month or you're doing $1,000 a month, it just, the yardstick keeps getting moved and reset.
I think your first goal was $500 a month. So
it was 500 a week was my first business goal to replace my pizza delivery income, you know, because I made pretty good tips. You know, this is like 20 years ago.
You were a hustler from the beginning.
I did pretty 500 a week was pretty good. I was rolling. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love this new narrative. And I'm so excited to dig in to like kind of your specialty and how you're really modeling all of this for your kids. Cause I think that's, you know, definitely what we're all after is we want to change the narrative for these kids so that they can really go for their dreams and not be afraid of that failure, right? That they can know that they can learn and grow and get better and take those intelligent risks. I love it. Okay. So I read in your intro that your number one passion is helping entrepreneurial families build wealth, become radically generous, and engineer a family culture that changes the world. Now, this is a huge, huge, huge mission. Do you want to talk for a second about like how this passion and mission has come about? Like, I mean, how you went from $500 a week to probably, I don't know how much you make now, but a lot. And all of the steps in between, because I know it wasn't a straight line.
Do you want me to take?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Go ahead.
So I think even though my husband was a pizza delivery man, he always was a visionary. And I think I was very attracted to the entrepreneur part, even though the safety net of security that I love was really challenged. But I think I fell in love with him because he's such a visionary, big thinker. But I didn't know what that looked like. And one of the things that I think was a real big pain point that actually encouraged those things that we are trying to do is that probably about when my son was 6 months old, my husband quit his job. He was just like quit his job. He worked at a great, cushy, safe banking job. And he was like, yeah, I quit my job and I'm going to start cleaning windows and start a window cleaning company. And I was thinking, what? I had this brand new baby and he was doing it, right? Mm-hmm. You were doing all the things, but it was broken. And he started systemizing that business and it worked. But he was doing like, I felt like a single parent for a while. Sorry, my words all jumbly. But I felt like a single parent for a while because he was hustling and grinding and things were still not really working. But as he started implementing systems, the business started to work. And then he turned around and our family was like falling apart. We had talks about divorce because it was just so stressful and so hard. So my husband
and by talks, what she means is me screaming at the top of my lungs and us yelling at each other and me barging out of the house talks about divorce. We can come back to that.
Yeah. Keep going. And me saying, you know what? Pack your stuff. I'll pack
her
it
saying
for
that is a fantastic idea, Josh.
Yeah. So it got really ugly there because, but then he had this idea, this epiphany. If I systemize my business and it worked, what would happen if I tried to systemize my family? So we created this family culture and it worked. We started systemizing our family and it sounds really nerdy and dorky, but it was the biggest life-changing moment. System by system, we started tweaking it and it's radically changed our life. It's helped us change other families' lives. And so we're passionate about it. So we do think that people should fix their businesses. That's the part about creating wealth, is that we do think people should systemize their business to fix them and all the other things in between.
Well, a family is similar to a business in the sense that they're both just, you have people and systems. That's what a family is. And that's what a business is, right? They're organizations of people. There's different personality types. And you can succeed or fail at both of these ideas, right? In a business, a good business, a fast growing business, someone that's crushing it is a high visionary who can articulate the vision and the mission to the people around them. They can rally the troops. There's structure, there's accountability. There's certain things inside of every successful company operationally that make it work. You have core values, you have a manifesto, there's got to be leadership, there's got to be people willing to follow the leadership. And so we didn't turn our family into a bunch of robots. I just basically started thinking like, wow, like what's our family's mission statement? Do we have core values for our family? My business has core values. Why don't we have that? Right. So we started putting these things in place, you know, and
Latimer of the month. We have a Latimer of the month.
Yes.
just like employee of the month. We put all these systems for our identity and connection, and
we have tons of them, and we're happy to share them with you. But, your original question was with Honor and Fire's mission statement of help families build wealth, become radically generous, engineer a family culture. The engineer piece just means push pause for 2 seconds and ask yourself this question. Are the systems my family currently uses, are they serving us well? Are we moving really towards where we want to go, right? Or are we just drifting? Because I know that for us, we felt like we were just drifting or really even drowning a lot of times.
So I guess my main thing is that it came out of pain.
Yeah.
We've been in pain and we know what it feels like to drown, like he said, and it doesn't have to be that way.
It's not that fun. I don't prefer it.
No, drowning sucks. Stinks.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm like, okay, everybody, like, I'm so excited. We're like, literally what we're going to talk about today has the potential to be a massive game changer for so many families. So like, literally, I want you to go and grab whatever you need to take notes because it's about to just rain down, right? So can you explain what a family system is and why now it's so crucial to implement these systems that create predictable results?
So do you want me to do it?
Yeah, okay. Do it.
First of all, everybody watching or listening to this right now already has a 100% fully systemized entire life. Your family's already systemized, right? If you don't talk to your wife and are passive aggressive, you have the no talk passive aggressive system implemented in your marriage. Okay. That's what's happening.
We've had that one before.
If you do not have sex with your spouse, you have a zero sex system, right? I don't think that's a pretty good one. I personally don't want that system, but that is your current system. So I know it's a weird word to apply to families, but think of it like that, kind of shift to think of it like that. And then the definition of a system is simply just the way that you do something or the way that you don't do something. The way you talk to yourself is a system. If you look in the mirror and you hate yourself and you hate your body and you say, oh, you fat piece of crap, look at you, you disgust me. If you're saying that in your own head, that's a system, right? The way we engage our kids is a system. The way we speak life, the Bible says that there's the power of life and death is in the tongue, right? Words create and destroy. So the words we say to ourselves, our family. So this whole systems thing is pretty simple, but it really boils down to being intentional and starting to do certain things on purpose instead of just falling into a routine and a rut like Groundhog's Day. For example, just to make this real, we sat down and made core values as a family, right?
Yeah, I'm just so in love with you. You're crushing it. I'm just
thanks, babe. We're gonna have to do one of our systems later.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see Ashlee with her pom poms? Like, yes.
Well,
I know. He is. He's just crushing it. I'm like, wow, I would marry you. I did. Okay.
Here, we got to push pause in the interview. We'll be right back. No. Here, the thing is core values. So our core values for our family is, faith, character, work ethic, and leadership. So our kids know what those mean. And even our little kids, like our 5-year-old Finley would be like, Finley, what does this mean? What does that mean? And she'll give like her version of it and we'll kind of guide it. And we sit down at dinner and we talk about it. Very simple, but we also put it on our wall so we could see it. We have the Latimer birthright, which is like a proclamation. It's a manifesto of who we are and where we're going and who we're fighting against. I am a child of God. I am here for greatness. I am a warrior. I defend the weak. I defend my mind. Like, it's like boom, boom, boom. Our kids read it every single morning. And it's part of them. It's in them. Do you want to tell about proprietary language?
Yeah, we have proprietary language. We have the words that we use in our home. And so when you ask anybody, even our 4-year-old, what do Latimers do? They will yell, we do hard things. And we have swag with do hard things on it. We say it doesn't matter how hard it is. It only matters if it's worth it. I mean, when things are getting a little wonky, sometimes we'll say teamwork makes and they'll yell dream work. Like, we just are instilling different things so that our kids have basically like a reset. We even have a reset word. Like when things get a little chaotic and you need to rein it back in, just like you would in a company with employees, you need to reset the room. We put our hands in and we say,
this is going to weird people out, but
Monica's going to be like, why did I ask these people? But we put our hands in and we originally started it when our boys were little. We have 5 children, but when our 3 little boys were little, we started the system, and it's called the Fresh Start system. But you know, what little boys do is they say fresh fart. And so we did the fresh fart system, and then it makes everybody giggle and laugh, and it resets the room. So we really are into leadership and different things like systems like that.
Yeah, that's just, you know, kind of an overview to get started. And there is actually a structure and a framework that I can share with everybody too, to help kind of understand what areas or categories to look at and kind of what order to start doing this stuff.
Right now we're just brain dumping all of our systems.
Yeah. So we can get into that, Monica, if you want, or whatever, wherever you want to go.
I definitely do. But just because I want to drive this home just a little bit, because recently, because I know you guys personally, you guys have a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of things going on, and not too many people know this, but you guys were in like the beginnings of this massive launch. And you guys all got sick. Josh got hit really, 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 really hard, right? And he's sick and he's taken down for a really long time. And I'm watching Ashlee on Instagram, of course, right? And she's like running all the businesses, and she's homeschooling 5 kids. She's launching the thing, and she's taking care of sick people and all the things. And I reached out a few times. I'm like, Ashlee, how you doing? And she's like, we're good. Like, everybody's kind of pulling their weight. We got some family systems, right? And like, I was like, wow. Cause I think I just would have been like, I quit. I can't do it. It's too hard. So
that was me. I definitely thought those thoughts when I was down there.
I'm wondering if you can give us an example of some of the family systems that you already had in place that kind of helped you get through all of that.
Sure. 100%. Do you want to?
Yeah. So the core of it is building your family culture. And so
just
independence and empowering your children, really empowering them to be independent. That doesn't mean like off on their own. That means independent in the family unit and really having a strong identity. We knew that dad,
I laid in bed for 20 days. Basically.
Yeah. 20 days. He didn't move. And so my boys learned how to bake and cook, not because I told them to, just because they saw a need. We're really,
it's hard to explain really in terms of, we did this exact system, but we build a culture of children that are not victims, that understand value creation. And we also have them do things on their own as young as possible. Right. So if they say, Dad, will you get me the thing? I'll say, well, you can get it yourself. You know, simple ideas like that, because that's part of our culture. They have a morning routine, right? They do their kid war plan journal. They read the birthright. They'll exercise in the morning. They have structure, right? They just already do. Our kids are usually up and out of bed before we are, because there's so much structure, and it fires them up, the structure. So when I was sick, it was very inconvenient for everybody around me, right? Because I'm basically like the worst sick person in the history of the world.
I did not say that you were the worst sick person, but you are a little extra.
Kind of a baby in a big way when I'm sick, but we'll leave that alone.
You know what, though, when you're an entrepreneur, one of the key words that we say in our family is everything is fixable. And so it wasn't like really we sat down and systemized how we were going to handle this sickness. What we did is we rallied together the troops, because we are
Team
such
huddle.
And we're like, hey, we
have huddles. My wife will get the kids and be like, huddle up, take a knee. And they circle around and get on a knee. And she's like, all right, here's the situation. Here's where we're at. I know this is hard. Here's where we got to go. Who's with me? And they're like, and that's how we do. That's just normal to us, right?
It is. I have been making my kids take a knee since they were like 3 years old. I'd be in the Walmart and I'm like, everybody take a knee. Like when things get weird, I'm like, take a knee. So like when we say we love the football cheerleader analogy, we love it. And we're like, take a knee. And then we put our hands in and we like rally the troops. But that's what we did when we were sick, is we rallied the troops. And my kids could see, since we're really open, we always tell our kids the truth, and we're talking back and forth. And so they could see the need. Like my boys baked me a cake. They had never baked a cake in their life. And I was just doing all the things, taking care of the businesses, also having good people on your team that aren't just in your normal unit. So I had a lot of outward helpers who I called in. I'm like, hey, I need this help with this or that. So having great people around your family is also a huge benefit. But I came home and there was a cake baked for me. And I was like, this is amazing.
Does that answer your question in any way, shape, or form?
It does. I think it's amazing. I mean, you're describing this family culture. And so for those listening who are like, okay, I need some family systems, let's go to how do you advise them to get started? Like, what are the first steps?
Okay, so the first thing you want to do is write down or memorize this framework. We call it the 5 stages of family legacy. It's, when we first we're going to start formally helping other people with this, we're like, all right, like, how do we quantify what it is that we've done here? Right. And by the way, we're not perfect, totally normal people. We're goofballs. We have bad days. We mess up systems all the time. I want to just make sure that we understand, the listener understands, it's massive imperfect action. When you create core values for your family, it's not because you're this epic person right now. We call it an aspirational proclamation. It's who you want to move towards. It's not you acting like you're awesome because we're a faith, character, work ethic. Do I have good work ethic every second? Of course I don't. Right? I got to go play some Call of Duty with my boys, but that's beside the point. Okay. The point is that none of this can be messy and still change your life. That's my point. Okay. So we don't have it figured out, and you can figure out 20% and have your crappy little lifestyle and we're awesome. No. That's not what we're trying to convey at all. Okay.
And actually, we edit systems all the time. We edit them. Like, we got that word from Tony Grubmeyer, our friend, and we just edit systems all the time. So it's never like a perfect system. It's always editing and rallying the troops.
Yes. So here's the 5 stages, right? The first one is identity. The second one is connection. I'll go back and explain these. And then the third one is targets. Fourth one is community. And the last one is growth. Now, they have to be done in this order for lots of reasons. The first thing that has to happen if your family is in chaos or things are out of whack, your business is broken, or you're just not on the same page, is we have to install some identity systems in yourself, and then create some for your family. And that just means, reminding yourself who you are. Do you have an orphan mindset? Do you have a mindset of lack, right? Are you always looking at the glass is half empty, and you know that that's wrong and you wish it wasn't like that? We got to sit down and do an aspirational proclamation on who you want to be. And that sounds fancy, but the reason I word it like that is it's who you want to grow into. It's not who you are right now, right? And you're proclaiming it because there's power to create and destroy in the tongue, right? In the beginning, God said, let there be light, right? Nothing happens, so you proclaim it. So you got to establish your identity of who you are, who you're fighting against, where you're going, and why you're on this big blue ball, right? Or this big blue pancake if you're a flat earther. I don't judge. Hey, either way. So anyway, you have to do your identity systems first. Then the next stage or types of systems are connection systems. This is where you get hyper connected to your spouse. You do some purple unicorn stuff. That's our code word for fun, naughty time with husbands and wives, is purple unicorns, right? Our kids all know what it means now, so it defeated the purpose.
Yeah, it used to be our code word, but now our kids found out what the code word is. So
right. So you got your identity. You remind yourself, this is who I am. This is what I was put here for, greatness. You get hyper connected to your spouse. Then you get connected to your kids through spending one-on-one time with them, not 463 hours, but how about 40 minutes of playing Legos and asking them deep questions? How you doing? How you really doing? What was that like? Yeah. What was that bully at school saying? Oh, that's interesting. Why do you, and talking. Now you're hyper connected. You remind yourself who you are. Stage 3 is community.
Targets.
Targets means you have to have your eye set on some sort of primary objective or success criteria. Where are we going? Is it to pay off a credit card this month and we're going to rally the family around that? And we're like, woo. Is it to save enough money to buy a different house? Is it to give a certain amount? It doesn't matter what it is. It can be financial, personal, weight loss, it can be anything, but you have to have a target in front of you all the time to hold your attention, right? So you can focus like a magnifying glass with the sun, and you can have that heat, right? If it's a right, you focus it correctly and it just burns. And that's what we want to happen with your family. The 4th stage is community. Excuse me. Community. This is a hard one for people because in almost all cases, most of us have relationships that we need to do a little snippy surgery on in our life. We're in relationships with people that need to go yesterday, and we're dragging our feet and we feel bad, but they are literally operational drag on you reaching your hopes and dreams. They are a dead weight. If your family is a fighter jet, these other people, these relationships are crop dusters. Okay. A fighter jet can't fly around with a crop duster because crop dusters only go about 90 miles an hour, and a fighter jet will fall out of the sky like a paperweight. weight if it goes 90 miles an hour. So perform surgery. Don't have to get into all the details of that, but your community, surround yourself with like-minded families is huge. It's huge. It's huge.
That's so good. Can I just like put
Yeah.
this, like a little bit of it, like that doesn't mean you stop loving these people. You can
Not at all.
still love these people, but I love what you're talking about.
You
Surround
do not
yourself
let them
with people who are
speak
going
into your
way more.
life.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't let them speak.
So
You don't
good.
give them permission to be negative on your thing. You also have to be careful who you even share your hopes and dreams with. You have to protect them. They're precious. You do not just throw those out to the world. You don't cast your pearls before swine. Like, you don't do it. And not that they're actually swine, because we love, Uncle Randy over here, who's always got an opinion, even though he doesn't know anything. We love him. We pat him on the head. But you gotta play some defense, right?
Exactly.
And you gotta make new relationships with people that want to give their kids an unfair advantage, who want to be who want to build a business and build orphanages and do big things. A lot of people don't want that. That's okay. But I'm not hanging out with those people, because the last stage is growth. And families get this backwards, because we're trying to build a business and we work a million hours, but we forgot identity and connection and targets and community. Growth is when you have all this stuff in place. Can't you see how you're positioned to just go crush it, just to go chop the wood, to put in the work, get the result, to go win, right? But that's our framework of our whole philosophy, essentially.
Oh my gosh. So good. So what are your best, like, tactical, because that's strategy. I love that. What are your best tips and tricks for developing those systems, but also, I mean, like, getting everyone's buy-in and tweaking things? You talked about editing, like to fit your specific family dynamics. Because I love what you talked about just then, but like, I could go do all of those things, but how do you get like your 5-year-old to like buy into the family system and like those types of things? Talk about that for a minute.
Sure. I mean, I think that's a good one for you, Bash.
Okay. Well, here's one really interesting part, is that we're not saying that you have to do all the systems that we do. You have to pick what your family flavor is, husband and wife, what the tone is that you want to do. And usually when systemizing, I usually tell people, if you're really in chaos, you need to start with one system that's really stressing you out.
Yeah.
But if you're not in chaos, you can start with the identity and then connection and different things like that. But it's really good for the married couple to get on the same page with your spouse and say, where do we want to systemize? Because coming together and rallying the troops together is going to be a lot easier than just doing it if like the entrepreneur or the spouse or whatever is going to do it themselves.
I think probably a good starting point, and actually maybe I can probably pull these down like as a PDF, and you can you can give them to people, but we walk people through an exercise called hyper communication. That's probably the best place to start. Now, on the one hand, I'm going to explain what this is. It's kind of like pulling the pin on a grenade and dropping it in your bedroom. But on the other hand, it's like the greatest thing ever, and you'll cry tears of joy when you do this. But couples are just not on the same page. I mean, really, we're not.
Yeah.
Everybody's a bunch of liars. Adults are exactly the same as middle schoolers. We're just way better at lying and being full of crap.
And bigger walls. We hide behind bigger walls that we've built.
Yes. And I heard someone one time say that, we need to visualize all adults as walking around with umbilical cords in their hand, waiting to plug it into something. Like, we want to be led. People are craved to be led. Your children crave leadership, even if they act like they don't. I promise you, it's biological. It's human nature. We need to be led. And so your kids are going to respond, but start with hyper communication. It's very simple. There's 2 pieces of paper. And like I said, I'll get those to you somehow. The first one is called the truth snapshot. Okay. And the truth snapshot is very simple, but it's very profound. Imagine I took a picture of another human being's feelings, okay, where they couldn't filter it or say it nicely so it didn't offend me. If it was a literal raw truth of what they felt in these different categories, the relationship with God, with their spouse, with their kids, with their business, with themselves. That's what true snapshot is. So you basically write out just the raw data, the reality of how you feel, irregardless if it's true. You might say, I feel like such a failure as a mom, but really you're like an amazing mom. You still write down, I feel like a total utter failure. My body is a disgusting sack of jelly, right? That's not true. You're probably beautiful, but that's how you feel, right? Yeah. And remember, we just heard women buy 5 times more creams and lotions in the month of their birthday than they do the rest of the year. That's fascinating because they look at their skin more. But anyway, you write down the truth snapshot, the reality of how you feel. Okay. And you don't write it in a way of what you want someone else to read it like, to not judge you. You write the raw, dirty, dark stuff down. You do that and your partner does that. Okay. The second thing you do is you fill out the same form, except this time it's called a hope snapshot. And you just write, 90 days from now, it'd be really nice if I felt like this about myself. And I felt like this as a mom. It'd be really, so you're creating a gap. This is what I wish things were like. This is what I wish I felt like. This is the reality of what I do feel like. And then you exchange these pieces of paper with your husband or your wife. But here's the rule. Here's the big summary, right? And this is a good way to start out the entire family system conversation, is to actually tell the truth to each other and just let the chips fall and then say, all right, let's build something together, right? Let's rebuild or whatever. But here's the rules. When you swap these papers,
this one's really important
it's important. If you break this, you're not listening to me. I will find you and I'll slap you with the ruler on your hand, like the teacher in 1832. But you cannot try to fix each other's stuff.
Yeah.
You don't even comment on each other's stuff. There's nothing to fix. Okay. The entire purpose of this exercise is one thing, and it's to be heard. That's it. That's it. Let the information soak into you and hear it. Actually hear it. Don't get offended by it. Boo-hoo for me. Everything's about me. The universe. Just let it hit. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to get pissed off. You're not going to get offended. Of course you are. I mean, you're going to be like, what in the world? You feel that? That's insane. Why the heck? You're the best mom. You don't say a word. You just hear her. You hear her. That's the point. And honestly, for a lot of people, that gets you 80% of the way there. It's not even about fixing it. It's about just actually understanding each other, right? I feel like a total failure. I'm ashamed that we only have sex once a month, and it's killing my performance at work. And I don't even feel like I can have poker night with the guys anymore because it's gotten so bad. I don't know what to do. And I'm secretly resenting my wife and have a little hate building up and anger and rage because of this. Ooh. That was dark, right?
I was going to say, you just made that up.
I guarantee you there's men listening to this right now that are pulling over on the side of the road, like pushing pause, like, oh my God, that's how I feel about my wife right now. Now, when his wife reads that, it's probably going to be devastating.
Right.
Right. Or she'll get pissed. She'll get mad. However she reacts. But the truth of how that person feels needs to be heard by the other person. So there you go. A little heavy, but this is part of the process.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I teach a very similar process called rewriting your story. And it's very similar. You're creating that gap because that story, that beginning story, is what's informing the decisions you make, the actions you take, how it goes, right? And if you let that go unchecked, you're probably not going to love the results. So while it is very difficult, it's so important to look at that so that you have the opportunity now to do the things that we teach here to rewrite that story. So it doesn't get written that way because it's happening in your head. And so you might as well put it down. You might as well look at it and start taking the necessary steps to fix it. And the beautiful thing about being married, and you touched on this so well, is that as husband and wife, we don't fix each other. We get to witness each other, right? Like that is the beauty of a healthy, thriving marriage, is that my job is not to fix you. My job is to witness your transformation, right? And so if I can hold space for whatever those feelings and whatever the beginning, what do you call it? The snapshot?
A truth snapshot.
The truth snapshot. If I can hold space for that truth snapshot and we can work together individually, but together on this hope snapshot, like what a beautiful, beautiful process that can be. I love it. I love it. I love you guys.
Yes. It creates freedom because when we were struggling, he invented this idea and this system because I was telling stories in my head over and over and over, and then they were becoming true to me and they were just all my feelings. And he's like, I just need to know what's actually going on in there because you're just making up these storylines that aren't true. So I like the way that you said story because
that's what it is. Yeah.
But then I had freedom, and now we tell the truth to each other all the time. Like, hey, this is where I'm at. And sometimes it's hard to hear, but also I love him and he loves me. And so we're not going to say it in a way that's like really damaging because we're in this together. We're a team.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay. So we were at a conference recently together, right? And Russell Brunson, this is a conference that's specifically for entrepreneurs. And Russell Brunson got up and he said, an entrepreneur is someone who took personal responsibility for a problem that wasn't their own. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to pass down to my kids, right? That entrepreneurial spirit, that willingness to take on problems that are not my own. How do you use family systems to instill that into your kids? Because you guys do it so, so well.
I got some goosebumps.
I know. I'm already starting to cry a little bit. So
I'll start then.
I love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I don't believe everybody's called to be an entrepreneur, right? Necessarily. And I'm not trying to make my kids become me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not the dad that says, I need to live vicariously through their life. My job is to help guide them towards what their thing's supposed to be. However, entrepreneurism is a vein and a tone that runs through our family every single day. There's massive, massive life lessons in the idea of free market capitalism, the idea of a free country like America, right? And these types of ideas are not taught anywhere, right? So we make a concerted effort to make sure our kids understand what value creation is, that, socialism is bad, capitalism is good. And we explain why. We don't just indoctrinate, but we teach them how to be independent thinkers. Our 11-year-old is reading a book on logical fallacies this week, right? But teaching entrepreneurism, how the difference between a client and a customer, how to serve people, how to give, what the difference between revenue is and net profit. We created an actual daily journal for kids because of that, right? For our own family first. They've done these types of things for a long time. But when I look at the landscape of small business owners that we work with, people are really busy. They're overwhelmed. We kind of abdicate responsibility to the schools. Like, oh yeah, they'll teach them stuff. They don't even teach anything that's actually useful in the real world in school for the most part. What's a credit score? What's a stock? What's a bond? What are economic principles, right? What's a republic? What are the three, like, there's so many different things. So this journal that we made has 9 different sections. And it teaches our kids, mindset and leadership in business, sales, marketing, investing, economics, government things, because I got to make sure that this stuff gets permanently inside their heads so that they can have an unfair advantage. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but the world's insane. And it's kind of like, in some ways, feels like it's kind of spiraling down the drain towards more insane. And we want to make sure our kids are equipped, right, to be creative, to take risks, to start businesses. Our oldest son has already built and sold one business, and he has a second business. And, that's empowering, right? He's not reliant on a job, he's going to be a job creator.
Yeah. I would just emphasize too, like, I think it was McCall Jones was talking about the difference between a shield and a weapon. And as a mom, like, shields are protected, they protect you so you aren't harmed, right? But weapons are for you to win. You don't want to, shields are for losing. You don't want to lose, but weapons are for when you want to win. And I think as a mother, there's been a lot of times in my life that I've tried to shield my children for stuff, but really I'm trying to create a warrior so that when I'm long gone, my kids are still crushing it because I love them so much. I want them to have an unfair advantage to crush it. And so they've also just got to see a great snapshot of entrepreneurship and how it creates a lifestyle of freedom. And you get to pick and choose what you want to do. No one's going to tell our kids, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, because they feel empowered because they've grown up in an entrepreneur home.
That's amazing. Okay. So you alluded to it, the Kid War Plan, but tell us all the things, give us all the details.
Well, okay. Yes. Do you have one?
Yep. Right there. I set it over here by
here, we can show what it looks like, but we ordered 1,000 of them, which is a really small order to start with.
That good.
Sorry. So these journals, what this is actually is a system. This particular thing that we made, we've never made a physical product. Our other companies are totally unrelated to anything like this. This is a fun family project for us, but the Kid War Plan is a handmade 90-day journal that teaches one concept a day to your kid in a really fun, friendly way. They fill it out in the morning. They brush their teeth. At night, they have their happies and crappies that they fill out. We even hired a 14-year-old artist to custom illustrate the whole thing. There's over 100 illustrations. We have specifically hired a kid entrepreneur on purpose. My son, Maverick, the 14-year-old, created a video series to go along with it, with 90 of these little short, kind of fun YouTube edited vibe style videos that he's shot and produced himself. It's taken him months. He's working like 8 hours a day on it. And why did we do that? Well, we did that, number one, because this thing has to exist. Okay. Because I looked for it. I bought every Tuttle Twins book. I buy every kind of weird book. Jocko Willink has some really good kid books, but I wanted a journal that gave structured routine, right? And I'll tell you a couple of the things that happen when a kid starts doing this. Number one is their confidence goes through the roof. Okay. Their confidence. Number two, their independence goes up. They become more self-sufficient. So a lot of families complain about their kids just needing to be on their leg all the time. They always need to be entertained and things. This helps with that a lot. Plus it's teaching them concepts. And every 10 days that a kid goes through this, they get a reward. And that's it. It's very simple, but it's getting information that's not readily available into our kids' heads.
And what are the ages specifically that this is really targeted?
Well, 8 and up is a no-brainer. If your kids are really, really, really strong reader and they're happen to be 7 or 6 or something, it can work. If you want to be involved as a parent and kind of do it with them, then you can do younger, right? But if you want them to do it on their own and have this be a system for them to have structure, routine, and learn these things and feel these kids are going to know things that most adults don't even know. And then it sparks these great, deep TED Talk style conversations in your house because your kids for example, we teach kids what propaganda is. And it's cleverly constructed, but misleading information used to promote a particular point of view, right? When your 9-year-old knows that and gets it, it's pretty cool, right? And
they start noticing propaganda when you're driving around the road. They're like, I think that's propaganda. Like they're like driving around or like in the mall. They'll be like, oh, I think that looks like propaganda right there. Do you think that's propaganda, Mom?
Yeah, it's really, really fun. But anyway, so 8 and up is good. Younger, if the parent wants to help them with it.
When we were starting.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead. I was just going to say, when we were starting this, we were trying to figure out how to take my husband's TED Talks that he had every single day and put them into something that could be in anybody's home across the entire world. And that is what we came up with, is the Kid War Plan, because he's always instilling these things in our children.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And, I can send you a link if people want to check it out. We did only buy 1,000 of these. We had 200 and something people on a waiting list before we even made it available. It just came available. We're having so much fun with it. Our kids are helping us box them up and ship them out and everything. But strongly encourage you to get them either for your kids or a gift for somebody else's kids.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's good. They're going to be linked in the show notes. So you can just go to the show notes when you're ready to buy one. But let's do closing thoughts. Because I'm sitting here thinking like people are like, I want to be in your family. Like I want to learn all those things. Right. So like, if you had the undivided attention of all the entrepreneurial families in all the world for just a few minutes, what is the very best advice you could give them about building wealth, becoming radically generous, and engineering a family culture that changes the world?
I'm going to cry if I do it.
Do it.
So Mother Teresa says, if you really want to change the world, go home and love your family. Sorry. And the very first system that my husband implemented, we've given you tons of systems that we've implemented, but there was one that really changed it all for us. And I remember I was a young mom. My son was 3 and he'd wait by the door because dad was doing his entrepreneur thing. And I was a little salty and eye rolling, and he would be like, when's daddy going to get home? When's daddy going to get home? And I'd just kind of roll my eyes like, I don't know when daddy's going to get home. Like I was really salty. And my husband came home and he said, I'm going to start something called VIP Day. And it's going to be Maverick Monday. And I'm going to have his undivided attention for an hour. And so now we have Sawyer Sunday, Maverick Monday, Tucker Tuesday, Judah May Thursday, Finley Friday, and Her Day Saturday, which is date night. This radically changed our life. It solidified our marriage, the way that I saw my husband take that dedicated time, because my husband was being pulled in so many different ways. So I guess if I were to say one thing is go home and love your family and implement systems that change the world. And so adding systems to your life does all of those 3 things.
That's good. I guess my answer, I got to cheat and take a little longer to think about it, but would be two things. Number one, don't be so hard on yourself. Okay. But you're only allowed to not be so hard on yourself if you take a more intentional approach with systemizing your family. Okay. It's not about perfection. That's an illusion that doesn't exist. It's not even a real thing. Right. So being stressed that you're not perfect is like being stressed that you don't own 3 unicorns. Like it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
I'm going to use that. That was amazing.
Because you're stressed over a thing that can't happen to begin with. Right. So don't be so hard on yourself, because even with the Maverick Monday thing, and my wife is genuinely crying, saying how it changed her life. I miss weeks all the time. It's imperfect, right? I've done it with Maverick. He's 14 years old since he was 3. So what do you think? 11 years of imperfect, but intentional talks, deep talks, talking with my kid, building the blocks with them, playing Legos, going throwing rocks in the river, going and buying them ice cream, and all the conversations of the pouring in, the investing. And maybe it was for 42 minutes one Monday, or it was for 30 minutes sometimes, or for an hour other times.
That 42 minutes changes your entire week.
Me imperfectly, very imperfectly doing that has completely transformed the family culture that we have. So look at your systems and stop beating yourself up. You just got to get more organized with it.
Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much, Josh and Ashlee Latimer. I freaking love you guys. To learn more ways to deepen your intimacy and strengthen your relationship, make sure you watch this video next.